In Sudan, aid groups say tens of thousands of people have fled the violence of the city of El Fasher in the Darfur region of the northeastern African nation, which is in the midst of a more than 2 year civil war. In makeshift camps, they recounted what they saw this past week when a paramilitary force captured the city and killed hundreds of people.
50 or 60 people in a single street, or 10 or 20 people. They kill them, bang, bang, bang. Then they would go to the next street, and again, bang, bang, bang. That's the massacre I saw in front of me.
This follows an official declaration that famine is spreading through Sudan. Earlier, I spoke with Sheldon Yett, the UNICEF representative in Sudan.
I just came back from towns on the outskirts of Al Fasher, nearby towns. I talked to women who had walked for days and days and days. This was just before the huge explosion of violence on October 26th. They talked about not knowing where their husbands were, not knowing where their sons were. They talked about having to eat animal feed, having nothing. And of course, it was a city that had been under siege for some 600 days. I had more than one of the individuals that I was speaking to just break down in tears because they had no idea what had happened. What happened to their children, what happened to the rest of their family. They had no idea what would happen to them next. There's this level of anxiety, of fear, of knowing that they've been displaced once and fearing that they'll be displaced yet again as this conflict continues to expand.
And tell us what UNICEF is doing on the ground there. What are your efforts like?
Now our efforts are really targeted on those people who have managed to survive the massacres that have happened in Al Fasher. We've got some 80,000 people who've left the city. They've gone to various towns in around North Darfur. UNICEF is making sure they're screened for malnutrition, getting access to water and sanitation, getting psychosocial support. This population has been exposed to huge levels of sexual violence. Many women have been raped. These children have been just exposed to the most horrific violence, so lots of psychological scars.
And of course, recently, the group that monitors, Hunger Monitoring Group, has confirmed famine in parts of Sudan. What has this exodus of displaced people done to that?
One of the areas that has famine is this area in Al Fasher. This is conflict-induced famine, no doubt about it. Sudan is a breadbasket. It's fed much of the Middle East. But in those areas of conflict, we have famine. We have people who had nothing and now, of course, have extreme malnutrition.
The monitoring group said that they see the famine and the risk of famine in Sudan are only symptoms of a broader, deepening crisis. Is that how you see it as well?
Yes, I think that's exactly right. We're now into 2.5 years of this conflict, and the front lines continue to move. The number of displaced continues to grow. There are some 30 million people in this country who need humanitarian assistance, half of them children. And there's some 80% of children in this country who are not in school.
You've listed off a number of problems. Is it possible to say what the top priority should be or what UNICEF's top priority is?
Well, it depends where in Sudan. In those parts of the country, such as Al Fasher and other parts in North Darfur and the Kordofans, we need to see an end to the violence itself. We need to make sure that children are safe, that women, that community members, that schools are not being targeted, that people can have a normal life and can feel free to go outside without fear of being shot.
What's the latest you're hearing from El Fasher and Darfur?
Unfortunately, the instability, the violence is continuing. The numbers continue to grow. People are walking for days out of the city to surrounding communities, to host communities. They're arriving malnourished. They're arriving dehydrated. They're arriving on death's door. We're hearing about many unaccompanied children that must be reunited with their families, so their families are still alive, and must get the support they require, the support to grow up to be full citizens of their country.
There's been such intense global attention on Gaza. Is there any sense that the attention has been less on Sudan, or it's been somehow overshadowed, that perhaps the world is focused elsewhere?
Yeah, it's not a competition, of course, but this is the largest humanitarian emergency in the world, and you wouldn't know it by listening to the world's media. And I've been doing this work for 30-odd years, and I've never seen anything the scale of what we're seeing in Sudan. I was in Rwanda, and I see echoes of what I saw there, patterns of killings that we saw there. But ultimately, this is a political issue. This is a war. Humanitarians can only do so much, and we need the resources to be able to provide the growing levels of need that are affecting children and their families in this country.
Sheldon Yett, UNICEF Sudan representative, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still to come on PBS News Weekend, the link between radiation from medical imaging and pediatric cancer, and why government regulators want to ban a key ingredient in a popular herbal supplement.
This is PBS News Weekend from the David M. Rubenstein studio at WETA in Washington, home of the PBS NewsHour, weeknights on PBS.